Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through pound yen. Now, we did feature pound yen last week and we talked about would 169 be targets, potentially even 170, be targets, and we can see that on Friday price hit both of those levels with price rallying over 450 pips into that point. Now, usually what happens after large moves in the market, we do get either sort of a couple of days of consolidation before either a continuation of the move, or we see price consolidate before pulling back. Now, in this case, I feel that we may get a little bit of a pullback. Now, the reason why I think we might get a bit of a pullback is because this week is going to be quite a heavy news week. We've got 3 central bank announcements, including the Federal Reserve. Now, usually when we get a really strong or heavy news week, the market can reverse that risk on and start to go more risk off. So that may give a bit of strength in the short term back to the Japanese yen. And pound yen may be one that feels a little bit of that pressure just because of how far the move has gone. Usually those like I said, those exaggerated moves can often see a little bit of a pullback. Now, there was some comments out of the Bank of England chief economist this week saying that Britain's basically, due to inflation, should just accept that they are poorer at the moment, which were pretty loose comments, to be fair. And will it affect the price of the currency though? I don't think so. It's because there's no fact sort of, or there's no sort of numbers behind it really, apart from the fact that inflation is high at the moment. So no real numbers from the chief economist of how they're going to change that for people in the UK. But we have obviously got the sort of Bank of Japan that remaining fairly dovish at the moment, so that's causing that weakness in the yen. The Bank of England were kind of hyping up a little bit of a potential for further rate hikes. Inflation in the UK is running well above 10%, well above the targets of 2%. So it's interesting to see if the Bank of England will start to hike rates further. Now, obviously, inflation rate has come down in the UK ever so slightly, still above 10%, but it did come down ever so slightly. So that sort of tailwind of that pound strength could slightly fade a little bit. However, this 170, 150 on pound yen is a sort of important trading zone. We can see the last time price was in and around this level was the 31st of October in 2022. And once it kind of broke through that close back below, price fell over 1,500 pips to the downside. So a real significant move in and around that level. Now, I like to point out those levels because if prices move such a long way from those levels, then it's largely down to institutional influence, okay? So I like to see if price revisits that area, do we get conditions to say that sellers are coming back in? Now, we've already talked about the fact that it's a heavy news week. So number one, heavy news week, could start to see a bit of yen strength coming back into the market in the very short term at least. Number two, it was an exaggerated move. Often these exaggerated moves can be followed by consolidation or pullbacks. And number three, the last time price visited this area, it was a strong level of resistance. So that to me is a good point to start focusing on pound yen. So let's talk a little bit more about the technicals here. You can see that we've broken through and made some higher highs. We've broken through now, hit that 171.50 resistance. So I'm going to take a look at the hourly time frame because this is where I think the price action is now starting to get a little bit interesting on this hourly, because we came up and sort of rounded towards the 1.72 handle. Price has fallen away and we've rallied back, and then we've rejected in and around the highs again. Is this a potential sign that we are going to start to see price start to move to the downside here? I think what I would like to see is just a little bit more evidence. Now, one of the patterns that I really love to look for is the double top pattern. Now, we don't quite have that yet because price hasn't come back and retested the overall highs. So I'd like to see an overall high there. You can then combine that with technical indicators like the RSI, stochastic oscillator, things like that, if you want to look for divergences. But price has come up into this same sort of area, haven't really completed the double top. So what I'll be looking for is a new lower low to form. Can price trade through this low here, which is around about the 170.97 handle? If we can trade through that, maybe I'll start looking for a lower high opportunity down to the 169 handle. Now the 169 handle is slightly important here, because if we go back to the daily time frame, it was these highs that formed back in 2022 in December, as well as the highs through November of 2022. So a couple of significant levels, and that's what we were actually targeting on longs before price shot straight through it. So makes it a sensible target if you are going to be looking to be a seller, or if traders are looking to sell back down into this supporting point. So definitely want to keep an eye on. I have actually marked out the 174.50, because if for whatever reason price remains in that risk on mode and the yen does continue to weaken, then the next level of resistance for pound yen is actually 174.50. So if price came up into that sort of zone in there, then we may see a rejection in and around that point instead of this 170.150 zone. So be an interesting market to watch, pound yen, considering what's been going on in this market, considering the move that's been developing here. I'd be really interested to see how price reacts going into this week. So hopefully that made sense. If it did, leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more Forex trading content, and I'll speak to you very soon. Cheers.